Speaking of African champions, good segue here. The final round. Ding, ding. You guys were watching these fights together,
Yes.
I do believe. Go through the heavyweight fight for us first. We are talking, of course, about Francis Ngannou taking back that fake interim belt that got handed to Cyril Gane. Do we get what was Rogan and the guys in the commentary box saying? Were they saying Gane or were they saying Gane?
A lot of them said Gane, I believe. They ended up talking more about Francis, I think,
Of course.
and Gane
They
towards
could
the end
not
of
stop
it.
talking about Francis, yeah.
Yeah, so they were hyping up Gane to start with about how he was like a freak athlete that no one's ever done what he's doing in the heavyweight division, and then Ngannou come out and was like, well, no one's doing what he's doing either, so who knows where this is going to go.
It's like everyone forgot.
I told you last week, like everyone's been sleeping on Ngannou. I don't know why. So,
Well,
anyway.
Ngannou hadn't fought a fight like this ever, really.
We'll
get to that.
We'll get to it, but
the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different fight for him. So went the distance, 5 rounds. I think I said last week in the preview that I thought it would be a slow start and they'd feel each other out. And first 2 rounds kind of went that way. You'd probably give the first 2 rounds to Gane as a guy.
Was it like Ngannou Lewis where they just were really gun shy?
Different.
Yeah, okay.
So Gane took his style, which was stay on the outside, letting Ngannou kind of follow you around, and pick him apart. Like you counter him, stay away from the power, counter him when you can. Use his length and style, his kicking in the game. So that worked enough. He on points was winning those rounds, but there was nothing like scary.
Sure.
He had no highlights. There was no real big moments. I think there was a nice one, spinning back kick to the body. That was like really it. But then Ngannou, for whatever reason, in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, just changed the scripts and went to a wrestling background, and he just wrestled the shit out of him.
Really?
Yeah. So in the 3rd, he caught a kick and did a nice trip and caught it and slammed Gane in the process, which was really nice, and then wrestled him through. Gane did try, I think, a Kimura in that 3rd round, which really wasn't that dangerous.
No,
And Ngannou
Slip out of it.
well, no, I think he just beasted it. He just a bit of flex and got his arm back to where it needed to be. But yeah, just one guy you probably don't want on top of your wrestling year around is Ngannou because he's huge. By all accounts, potentially lost, gained weight. Yeah, had to cut weight to make the limit and then gained a little bit back because he was massive. Like he did look like he was 20 pounds heavier than Gane in this. And he made him carry his weight for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. 4th and 5th, just same thing, shooting double legs, taking him down. Didn't really need to throw his power. Won the rounds, got to the positions, got mount a lot.
He nearly gave into that leg lock though.
It was a bad leg lock, but I wonder. So the other thing is, he completely tore his MCL and had a tear in his ACL going into it.
Jeez.
So he wore compression like leg knee socks. But not like your typical compression ones, more the thicker, like rubbery ones, like the real thick. Yeah. So he's wearing both knees, so probably trying to hide which knee it was. But he did get a leg lock, which more twisted the ankle than, say, the knee. But it's super flexible now because I've got no ligaments in it.
Not necessarily a good thing.
But he did never look like tapping, though. Like, he looked calm and relaxed. Like, I don't feel like I'm in an issue. Moved his body into the right place. And reversed that, got the position, and got the win. And I think Ngannou's quote, I think he said like in the 3rd or 4th round, Gane had the same look he had when he fought Stipe the first time. And like I had no idea what I was doing wrestling wise. So he's got Usman in his corner, fantastic wrestler. So hey, he's been learning stuff. Yeah, Usman's learned how to knock people out. Ngannou's learned how to wrestle. I think they've helped each other out.
Yeah.
So,
crazy, hey, crazy. Who would have thought that Francis Ngannou would win in 5 rounds on the back of his wrestling?
Yeah, 3 rounds of excellent wrestling, getting takedowns, getting position, transitioning well in positions as well, and really outclassed Gane on the floor. So
how's this for a headline? Fernand Lopez told Cyril Gane not to kick Francis Ngannou's knee as the injury rumours were bait. Thoughts around that?
Well,
was he throwing a line out?
Hard to say. I think Ngannou's actually going in for surgery, so they're not expecting back for 6 months.
Yeah, so I doubt that's bait then.
unless
that article might have been bait.
Yeah, unless that's bait as well, as in they're just kind of covering all the thing. But hey, it's...
And we've got all the pay dispute, the fighting between Ngannou and Dana White.
That's all the chat now is Tyson
he's
Fury.
One of the biggest draws in the UFC. He's the heavyweight champion of the world. He's defended his title. He's had the shits, and rightfully so, that he wasn't given an ample time to defend his title. Yeah, that's right. Gane had been given this asterisk interim title in the meantime. Gane talking a little bit of shit beforehand as well, saying he was taking him down in they're sparring together and
I know. Knocked him out sparring, etc.
How were they after the fight? Pretty respectful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So they knew where they both come, and I think Ngannou kind of acknowledged the fact that he was me a couple of years ago. He can go away. He's got plenty he can work on, and potentially make another run. But
that's it.
Surgery for Ngannou. I think he's angling for more money. Maybe Tyson Fury. It looks like they want to do John Jones. Dana's already said that makes the most sense next.
Everyone in the world wants to see that.
Yeah,
yes,
that potentially gets Ngannou some of that money he's talking about. But then I think someone.
I mean, if he's going to go into surgery, is there going to be like another interim belt?
I hope not.
Well, it has to be. If he was only like 2 months off when they gave Gane the interim belt.
Well, that was stupid. We knew that was stupid,
and that was only because he couldn't get into the country because of COVID. Like there was no other reason for it.
It was just dumb.
Ngannou's 35 now. Okay, heavyweights, we have seen them. They can peak really late.
He was late into mixed martial arts as well. So. Boxing makes way more sense for him as in a longevity thing.
Well, and look at what Jake Paul's been able to do out of fucking boxing. You'd rather Francis Ngannou be making that boxing money than fucking Jake Paul. Surely,
I think he's not. He's got the power, but there's no way he's going to outbox someone like Tyson Fury.
No, he's not going to outbox.
Fury's going to out him.
Arguably the best heavyweight of all time.
Exactly. He'll eat him for
current
dinner,
world champion.
But he'll get paid in the process, which I think's
And if they did like a 6 rounds or something, not a 12-round fight or maybe an 8-round kind of thing. Fuck, I'd watch it.
Everyone would tune in for it, and he'd get paid in the process. So they're the two options. We'll have to see how that goes going forward.
What about for Cyril? Does he now have to go back? Do you think? Who's his next fight? Derek Lewis, Stipe Miocic.
So I think Derek's booked against someone, I believe. I can't remember who.
Yeah, he's going to fight
Tuivasa.
Tuivasa, that's right. We talked about that. So they're booked.
What's Stipe doing?
Stipe... that makes way more sense, that fight, Stipe. And as in, let's do that. And then that potentially leads into your next contender. Like... If you can get a win over Stipe, put you straight back in title contention. Stipe gets a win and it's like, hey, Ngannou, you can't leave me alone. I'm still the second best in this division. Let's go have another round.
Imagine a trilogy between Stipe and Francis Ngannou, because you couldn't have seen two more different fights.
Yeah.
The first one where Miocic had him covered, and then the second one where he was like, oh my God, like this is a different animal.
Just got knocked the fuck out. So.
Yeah, this is a different animal. And before the knockout, you could see he was backing away, and you're like, this isn't the Stipe Miocic, arguably one of the best heavyweights of all time that we're used to seeing. Very different, those first two fights.
Yeah. Yeah. Hard to say. I think Stipe probably makes the most sense out of that. Or maybe they'll force Gane to take on one of those other up-and-comers in there between 5, 6 or 7. But Stipe makes way more sense.
I'm kind of of the opinion that Jones shouldn't get a championship fight straight up. He needs... I'd like to see him go through someone first.
That's an interesting one.
It makes sense, but they also don't want to...
Jones is the money fight.
Yeah, so they don't want to lose, have him fight Volkov or something like that, and he lose, and then it's like, well, there's no point anymore.
Yeah.
They need that payoff. So it's like, just feed him to Ngannou, and
you got to admire, people like to, throw shade on John Jones because of the out of the Octagon staff. Yeah, that's right. The PEDs.
He's still the most talented fighter that's ever stepped in the UFC.
Ever. So he's got one loss, and it's an asterisk loss. It wasn't a loss. Everyone wants to see that fight, and the fact that the difference between heavyweight and light heavyweight is 60 pounds, that needs to be sorted out. That's another a topic, but surely there needs to be,
it's
a heavyweight and a super heavyweight.
Well, it's a maximum, so it's not a minute. So it's slightly different.
Yeah, what's Ngannou fighting at?
265. Well, Gane fought at 254, I think. Yeah. So.
I think they need to have something in the middle there.
Oh, I think Jones.
I think a lot of people think that, but the fact that he's been in the gym just lifting, eating.
Yeah,
throw a little bit of Twitter beef in there. That you got to respect that he had cleaned out every single person at light heavyweight and wanted another challenge. I think he deserves to go straight for the title.
Yeah,
that's my personal opinion.
I agree. He's outside of McGregor, he's the biggest star of the last decade. Easily in the UFC, so who's current champs? Like there isn't a star or drawing power as big as John Jones is currently. So I'd put him right back in there because Ngannou beats John Jones. You're then building Ngannou up to this big star. Of course, you're probably gonna have to pay him, but you've then the baddest man on the planet. You can actually start talking about that and having that thrown out there as like, hey, he has at the pinnacle.
Yeah, I wouldn't not call him the baddest man on the planet.
Not to his face, no.
To his face, no. Or on the internet. What about the co-main event, guys? We actually did anyone pick Figgy last week out of us? No, I think we all like Moreno.
I think we were, I think we were both sides. Like this was another.
This could have gone either way.
Yeah, exactly.
Deiveson Figueiredo taking back the flyweight championship of the world, which Brandon Moreno took from him. At the start of the year in the trilogy.
Yep.
This one went the distance as well. Sean, what did you say?
Fourth fight. It's probably the simplest way.
Let's go. Yeah, has there ever been a quad in the UFC history?
No, they've only done trilogies. I don't think
plenty of trilogies.
Yeah, plenty of trilogies. I don't think anyone's ever done a fourth.
But
I don't think it's
a quadrilogy.
Most of the trilogies have gone one way, as in one would get a win, they do a rematch, and then that same guy would win. Like someone would win two convincingly.
Weird that's right.
But this has been a draw, a win, and then a switch to win. So then
so it's not literally it's not 2-1, it's 1-1 and 1.
Yeah,
that means you have to. It's split at the moment. It's a split decision.
So it was an interesting fight. Like. It wasn't a split decision in this, and someone gave Figgy 4 rounds as well in this match. I had it leaning the other way to 3-2 to Moreno, but it could have gone either way, and depending on how you scored it. Moreno did get knocked down about 4 times in this fight as well. Got straight back up, but that visual probably for the refs was like, hey, you got a knockdown in that round. So judges, sorry, not refs. That knockdown in that case probably. Held with them. So that's why they gave those rounds to Figgy. Figgy looked like he landed more later on as well. Because I think Moreno had the great counter left and he landed that every time Figgy, and that really worried him. He kind of eased off. But he kind of took a very confident, chin up kind of approach to this, whether that was just the style or the Mexican style he wanted to take in this fight. Yeah. But Figgy weathered it. He threw his own big shots as well, some good rights. Did get at least 3 knockdowns from that, and I think he got a kick as well that kind of semi-knocked down Moreno. So you could say there was roughly kind of 4 knockdowns, which I think played a big part in the judges' scorecard. But I was happy for this to be a split decision, and I think a 4th.
It was unanimous.
Yeah, I was happy for it to be a split. I could have seen it go either way. It was that close. So. For Figgy to win, I think that creates a great narrative. They should rename the flyweight division for these 2 blokes and just have them fight for the end of time because there's no one else in that division floating around.
Yeah,
and these guys are electric and come out to play.
Poor Askarov is going, come on, man! Like he's sitting there as the 2, like give us a shot.
Yeah,
but I agree. Has there ever been 4? Can you find? It's pretty hard to find.
Not in the UFC. There have been some fighters who have,
Strike Force. Or,
but within the UFC, Tito and Ortiz, they had 3, but then they had their 4.
I'm sure that if you looked in the history of the world, there's been blokes down the pub that have fought each other 4 times. Yeah.
So I'm just looking up this guy called Travis Fulton.
Yeah.
He fought a fighter called Brian Robinson 7 times. He also has
series.
What was his record?
Yeah, well, across all amateur, professional, his entire career, he has got 255 wins, 54 losses.
He's 300 you talk about 300 gamers in AFL and the NRL. This bloke has had 300 fights. Yep. My word.
To that, his nickname was the Iron Man.
Yeah. Iron by name, iron by nature.
Don't go look at some Muay Thai records.
Oh, yeah, those Thais, they fight every week.
Not every week. They fight every day and maybe 2 or 3 times. Like, it's crazy. They have multiple hundreds of fights.
Built different, those Thais are. Anything from the lower side of the main card? We did speak last week about it being a really top-heavy card with those 2 co-main events. What interested you in the earlier fights from the main card?
Well, was some fun fights like the Moraes versus Gills there at the bottom. With Michael actually getting the win in that with TKO. Both up-and-comers coming off like the Ultimate Fighter or Dana White's contender series. So, like they had a bit of a backstory there. Giles, I think, was a police officer as well. So,
like cop.
But he ate a massive shot and got finished on the ground. Sad was
Sad or Said?
Said. As advertised, let's just say that.
Nurmagomedov. Yeah, you wouldn't want to bet against anyone with the surname Nurmagomedov.
Got a guillotine within like the first couple of minutes.
47 seconds.
Yeah, it just went in, taken down, guillotine, job done. And then Mike Pereira did what he usually does, some spinny shit. Ended up in a bit of a contest here where he won the first round, lost the second, and then I think he scraped through in the third to get the unanimous. So, some fun stuff to get there. Saeed, I think, is probably going to be the one
to watch in the
one to watch to come. Yeah, going forward, like he coming out of Dagestan and out of that camp, he looks like he could be legit.
Unbelievable, the elite fighters that get produced by such a small area in that southern pocket of Russian, the Dagestanis.
That's it.
That'll wrap up the fight chat. US.
Sorry, I just want to make one final note is that as well. So on the preliminary card, Jake Della and
Maddalena.
The Aussie, bro.
Yeah, Aussie. Yep. He beat
Italian Aussie too.
Yeah, Pete Rodriguez.
Doesn't look Italian,
doesn't he? You see, we'll talk about it in the tennis in a sec. Yannick Sinner, he didn't look very Italian either. There's a story behind that.
But he looked really good with his hands, like elite. Got the knockout.
So beat Pete Rodriguez in the first round. TKO punches welterweight. So one to watch there. 2025. So sort of starting to come into that sort of when you start approaching peak period.
He was so keen to meet Rogan after it as well.
Was he?
Yeah, it's taken me so long to get here, Joe. Just so happy to be in the ring with you, etc. So